Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me as co-host, Andre Doc Manders. We'll soon be joined by our other co-host, Dean Miners. Our guest this evening, our executive of the Bermuda Cricket Board and the president, Mr. Arnold Manders, and Stephen Douglas. Your title at the Cricket Board, sir?
Cricket Board Chairman and Assistant Secretary Treasurer.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, this past week, cricket came to a halt prematurely. We had 2 rounds of First Division to play. Mr. Manders, I know you sent out a press release, or the Cricket Board sent out a press release on Friday indicating that, but can you give us just a little background on how everything unfolded till we got to the point where it was decided to postpone the final 2 rounds?
Well, we haven't come to postponing the 2 rounds. We postponed this weekend because one player tested positive last week, and we found out on Thursday. So we had to have a meeting with that club to decide how we were going to do it. They explained that it was difficult for their players to get tested before the weekend. So that was the reason why we postponed this weekend. But with the current state of the COVID-19 in the island, we felt that it would be best just to postpone it for now and then have a postmortem with the other First Division clubs, particularly those ones that were still in the promotion race. Mm-hmm. So we had a meeting with the club, with the COVID-19 player, and then we had a meeting with Western Stars, Warwick, Flats, and Cleveland, who are the 4 teams that were still in position to gain promotion to the First Division or the Premier.
Mm. Well, obviously, I know you guys had that meeting yesterday. Where do we sit now, Stephen? Where do we sit as we stand following yesterday's meeting?
Yesterday's meeting, we just got some ideas. First of all, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Island Stats Show for me. Yesterday's meeting was just to get a feel from every team that's directly involved with the First Division. They should be able to share their views or what they thought, what we can do. And one thing that came out of that, everybody was keen to play cricket, which is very good news for us. But as the president said, with the spike in numbers, etc., we will have to make a decision that is based upon the country, the state the country is in. So we gathered some suggestions if the season cannot be completed, how we would approach some type of conclusion of it in that sense. So that's where we're at right now. We gathered their ideas yesterday. The cricket committee met today to discuss a few things. And tomorrow the executive will meet and we'll share our views with the executive committee. And once that's completed and everybody's from the executive side is understood, the cricket board will then make a release of what we're going to do per the end of 2021 season for the First Division teams.
Mm. Doc, any early questions? Any early thoughts?
No, I think they done the right thing because before the cases that have come up in the last couple of weeks, it was not only Western Stars. I had Warwick had a few players that was under quarantine too. So it's probably best now for this weekend, and I guess you could assess it maybe in the next week or two, depending how the clubs feel about it.
Mm.
Stephen, so in the event that the clubs decide to play, would you guys still play? What fields will be available in the next couple of weeks? Yeah.
Well, you understand what the predicament we're in, but I think the most important part is the health and safety issue. We don't want to be the sport that's going to help to spike the COVID-19. It's serious. But when we met with them yesterday, yes, everyone wanted to play. to finish the season, but they understood the plight that we were in with COVID-19. So I think whatever decision we make, the clubs will be happy. But me as president, it's kind of difficult when you think about it. But canceling 1 week, that still means we've got to play 2 rounds. We're going to be into October at that time. We'll ask teams to stop training. Then we're going to try to get it back out. But that's a decision that we would have to make tomorrow in the executive meeting to decide the fate of this 2021 season.
When you look at how the season has progressed, what were the protocols month by month for teams to play?
Well, we just have to follow the rules that we applied to the youth and sports as we applied to play the game with 275 people. And that included the officials and players and the club executives. So it looked like about 200 fans because we were having 2 games per day at a field. They had to take everybody's temperature, everybody's
Safe key.
information like your name, your phone number, email address, etc. And so that data was collected, and that data was shared with the BCB on the Monday or Tuesday, just in case of anything happened. The data was already collected for the health department.
What about the player side? Because obviously now we're to a point where we see the other national sport getting ready to start, and they're under scrutiny of having everyone to have a safe key, meaning that the players that were not gotten the vaccination would have to do a test. Well, prior to that, when we were in the phases coming back, it was every 28 days. Were the cricket players still under that same regime, or was that just not part of this year's setup?
Well, we're not a contact sport like football is. So we've got less contact. So we have a little less stricter rules than the football here. So that's why we were able to do exactly as we did last year. And that's our greatest advantage we have in this position. But like the president said, with the numbers in the country spiking, we have to look at it totally different right now. And this is the time of the year where things seem to perk up between now and probably March. So, we're helping us to look at when do we start, when do we look to finish going forward.
Anything else to add, Doc?
Okay, well, I'm sure the club's going to meet, but in the event that the games don't go on, then you guys have got a problem to decide who goes up and goes down, because it's very close now. That's been the talk going around, like now who goes up, Now you say it's 4 teams. I thought it was 3. I didn't know Flats was in
Flats.
Mathematically, they're still in it.
Mathematically, they're still in it. They had to win all 4 games.
Right.
So one of these scenarios, Doc, could possibly be if both rounds were rained out, everybody gets the 5 points.
Yeah.
That's a scenario.
Right.
Well, I don't know what the clubs had talked about, but
some of the clubs made some great recommendations. We can't disclose that yet.
Right, that's
we are
fine.
meeting with our executive tomorrow, and then we'll decide which one of the suggestions that is probably fair to all the teams that are involved with the promotion race.
Right. Well, I know Mr. Douglas is a stickler for Constitution and abiding by the rules. What does the Constitution say to something of this scenario, Mr. Douglas?
It doesn't say nothing actually directly, because this is a total new thing for us as for COVID. Actually, it's something we've got to look at and add to our bylaws for this time, because predominantly what we hear was, first of all, you came first if you led by points. Second, if you were tied, it was net run rate. So at this point in time, we haven't finished the season. So that is totally new to us. So that means back to the drawing board for our secretary, and back to the drawing board for us, the cricket committee, to put something in place, going forward. And I think it's something that, as you may look at, there's a big debate over there in Manchester, England right now. They don't know whether to give the game as a draw to England and India. ICC is getting involved. MCC wants what they want. The Indian board wants what they want. So, and what little small fry. These guys are big dogs. And so you learn from that. And I'll tell you what, I'll be following that very closely. And whatever they decide or what type of recommendations they make, we will look at it and see if that is capable to be used in Bermuda. And so that's what we're regarded by ICC and the big brothers of the full members of cricket. But we always got to remember that we're amateurs. People work. We approach things a little differently. So you use this as a yardstick, as a guidance to help us in making our decisions.
Yeah. When can we see the possibility of the amendments? Because COVID has brought so many different things. The amendments to the Constitution to add something similar to this, and how does that get hashed out?
Again, as I said just now to you, we will reach out to the parent of cricket, ICC, because they have a lot of office staff that looks at these various things. I will also look at, again, what the test country would do, and we'll take it and look at what an associate country would do. Once that is done, we may have to look at it. It's very close now. Our AGM is in November, so we really can tie it all in this short period of time. But it doesn't, hurt for us to look at it, and maybe prior to the season start next year have a special general meeting to explain to the clubs, this is how it is going forward. Because of the pandemic, this pandemic is not going away. This is what we have in place. Similar to like a bailout, if it's a tie or a playoff, you just add these caveats into your regulations to assist to make it easier for you. It's not a big thing.
Right. Mr. President, you was going to add something?
No, he hit the spot. We would just have to sit down and put in something that will clarify if this should happen again. That's all. It was nothing in the rules stating if the season didn't finish, how would you declare a winner? So that's the only part that would need to be fixed, and I don't think it should be that difficult to try and put that amendment into the Constitution for the game.
Evening, Mr. Minus. How are you?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, dear.
Just had a little bit of technical problems with my computer. I'm here.
Good morning, Mr. Minus.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Well, let me ask you, because I watch a lot of different sports and look how a lot of organizations have restructured their way. What do you guys have anything in place that if a player finds out they're positive during a game, because not necessarily they're going to tell you they're waiting on a test. What rules do you have in place that if this player comes back negative whilst he or she is playing?
Negative or positive?
Positive.
Well, first of all, if they're sick, they shouldn't be sure. We have COVID-19 rules, which basically come from all around, from the full members and some of our associates, about what the players should be doing, what the umpires should be doing. And one of them is if they're sick, they shouldn't be showing up to a game.
Well, no, I'm talking about if a player returns, gets the day 1 test, and it's day 4, and they're playing a game, and it pops up on their phone that they are now positive. What are the repercussions for the game? What happens?
Leave the field immediately.
The player or the teams?
Well, hey, look, that's again, that reflects on the Manchester Derby, where everything closes down. We made to close it all down. At this point in time, we're basically asking people to honor the position that they have to play as far as their health is concerned. If you know you're in that predicament, then you should be not coming to the game, for starters, to avoid that type of incident happen. And once they apply the protocols, then that's what it will, that's how they apply it. It's these scenarios are scenarios that have not been dealt with yet. We haven't heard about these scenarios from a cricketing side. as you heard the other day, again, I go back to the England scenario. A lot of the backroom staff are tested positive, so everything just stopped immediately. And they have a well-oiled machine. We only got 3 people in our office, plus the rest of us are all volunteers. So we expect people to honor the guidelines that we are giving them. And the guidelines are simple. When you're in these positions, just stay away from the game. Have the respect, not just for yourself, but for your fellow players and everyone else.
I mean, you see it all through the island. That's why we're in the predicament we're in. That, people not following the health and safety protocols put in place by the government of Bermuda. So, us cricketers, not cricket, that's all like what Stephen said, is that we give them to say that they're honest, that if they have it, they need to stay away. Now, we may have some people that have been positive and still going and play it. We don't know, but this is the first case that has come up where a club said, look, we have one of our players that tested positive, and we can't get all our players tested. What can we do? And, we had to meet and we sorted it out. And it just seems like we have had some incidents and we'll work through it. But this one, I don't think, particularly at the end of the season, with the COVID-19 the way it is, it's better to, go on the safety part. And we'll decide about the league, like we said, on tomorrow night. And then we will let the clubs know and the media know of our decision. But everybody's in the same plight. Is it COVID-19 is here, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And you just got to learn how to adjust and be creative to get through the situation. I mean, we've been very fortunate. A whole season last year, no cases. This year, 2 weeks away from finishing, the premier finish, and we got a positive case. So we just have to sort it out one way or the other, changing the rules to make sure that if a season is premature, how we will work out a promotion or a winner. And maybe increasing in health and safety protocols. But right now, it's difficult to get tests. I know that myself because I came back from away and I've been standing in lines for an hour and a half just to get the tests. So I know what it's like. I think we may have to even look like what England's doing, but I don't know how. They have a test where you can take and you will know, like if you're taking a pregnancy test. But then that becomes that people will be honest and saying that they're positive.
Yeah,
because I don't think they can track it.
Test. They call it a rapid test. The association was looking to do it the other night before the Charity Cup. I'm not sure if they actually completed it because they had eventually called the game off, but it's a rapid test that they can do, and the results you can get back within a 2-hour period.
Right, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I know Mr. Douglas has joined us this evening because Dean had quite a few questions that the president was referring to Mr. Douglas to answer. So I know Mr. Miners will have quite a few questions. But we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, Dean, you can ask Mr. Douglas your first question. We'll be right back.
Nuco is a company impressively dedicated to the production of coconut concoctions. Their motto is coconuts for life, and however that resonates, it seems to have done the trick for vegan snack lovers. Nuco uses 3 ingredients in their wraps: pure organic and GMO-free coconut meat, coconut water, and unrefined virgin coconut oil. Nuco extols them as the all-natural alternative to bread and tortillas. This month we're featuring gluten-free Nuco organic coconut wraps in a 5-pack. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Dean?
Yeah, Mr. Douglas and Mr. Manders, first of all, I want to congratulate you for pushing through this whole COVID pandemic and getting some cricket for cricket lovers in Bermuda. So first of all, I want to congratulate you and your administration for doing this.
Thank you.
Question that I have is, we're aware of the challenges that is going on with, with COVID and the pandemic, but I want you to tell me, what do you think went well? Looking at last year, looking at this year, looking at COVID as overall, what do you think? Can you just tell us what went well?
What went well is that the clubs have made a conscious effort to be a part of this. Last year we just had four clubs partaking in hosting games, and that was because of our first year in this pandemic. We identified 4 clubs to host it. At the beginning of this year, we put it out to every club where they're interested, and we just shared the guidelines, as far as security at the gate. No one can go into the changing rooms, having the hand sanitizers and various things for players. So each club made a conscious effort to follow the rules that was put in place. So, they do a lot of work in order for cricket to be played, and we just politely ask the fans to monitor their social distancing and everything. Now, not everybody can follow the rules, but we can only ask. So we were very impressed. As a chairperson, I'm very impressed with all the clubs. First of all, who said yes to participate, and secondly, that they're prepared to follow the guidelines that were put out there by the BCB.
My second question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think, Stephen, we had every club that had a field host matches, didn't we? Somerset Bridge, Rangers, RAC.
That's PHC.
Right, PHC, no. All right, so that's last year we only had 3 or 4. This year we had at least 10. So, but actually 12 if just PHC, because Western Stars is out. Cleveland don't have a home field, and Flats don't have a home field. So I think that was a good job by the committee to open it up, and the clubs to take the opportunity for them to get some money in the corpus by hosting matches.
Mm.
The second question is for Mr. Douglas, of course, is the president in the Countess. What went well in the Countess?
In the contest?
Yeah.
Well, it was great for, I can say, from the Eastern County. First of all, I'm saying to the Western County. The Eastern County and the Western County both have an MOU with the BCB. And this allowed the BCB to help us to get the Western County, because their numbers aren't as large in the Central County, I must forget them. They were allowed to play under the same guidelines as the domestic cricket plays under, because the numbers aren't that great. The Eastern County, we were similar to Cutmatch. We had to get a safe key. You'll get your tickets online. The orders, various things. They're rich in a lot of ways. I can tell you from the Eastern County's perspective, it made it a lot easier for us on the day of the game with having the safe key. Once people got through the gate, everything was pretty straightforward. We're not going to go the line with handling cash, people to pay by paying online. Our money was in the bank before the game started. So they made it a lot easier from that perspective. And it took away a lot of legwork on the day of the game. It allowed us to, actually my committee, to look at the game a lot more and see what we can do to continue to improve the game. I wasn't fortunate to attend the Central County, but I did go to the Western County. I umpired the game, and I went there also prior to a game and looked around, and it did a lot for them, to a point now where I can tell you Somerset Bridge now is like they have the lighted stumps. What they done for the 2020 tournament, plus they were able to get, from that tournament they got side screens, they got the rope. So umpire Deal, the most senior umpire in Bermuda, his first game was there. He came to the next umpire's meeting. Man, it's like I'm going away to an ICC tournament. He really felt good about it. So everybody is elevating their game, and sometimes it takes these pandemics and various things for us to look at cricket a little differently. So that's been the positive of it. Is everybody has looked at the cricket a little different. So that's the greatness of it so far this year.
But just to add to that, Dean, Cal and I, the executive officer, Mr. Blackendale, we met with Youth in Sports to obtain the exemptions, for not only for the domestic league running, but for the Eastern Counties, the Western Counties, and the Central Counties, and Eastern Counties and Cut Match got to have the open, but the Western Counties and Central Counties got to be like the league where we allowed 200 and something spectators. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do that as well. So I'd like to thank Youth in Sports, in particular the minister, Mr. Ernest Peets. He's been a avid cricket fan and assisting us to get our sport up and running. So I'd like to thank them for getting us the exemption for not only the domestic league, but for Eastern Counties, Cup Match, and Western Counties.
Yeah.
The other notable thing was the other notable event that happened was the junior counties in St. David's. And Mr. Douglas, you were instrumental in that. Can you just explain how did it come about and what made you? I mean, the youngsters played in this junior counties. I think it was 2020. I did get a chance to attend. What made you just?
Well, I should ask Clay. He went out there and poached the player, but I'll leave that part out. The junior is your future, so you always gotta make way for them. And we couldn't have a full season, but we made it that we're gonna play some cricket for them. So we didn't have the regular 40 overs per team game, so we decided to have 2 20-20 games for them. And that allowed them to showcase themselves. So we had two weekends of cricket for them, and they were able to put themselves out there and showcase themselves and have their regular banter that they have all the time. And this just allows the, number one, the Eastern County to continue to grow, and number two, it allows the cricket in the country, the cricket board, to continue to grow, because the youngsters are the ones who are our future. And if we don't find time to encourage them, we fall apart. And I think from that, we were able to have some junior cricket on the Monday afternoons after work, Saturday at 5:30, and the Eastern County was like the beginning of it, and then we had those games. So as a cricket lover who follows cricket, understands cricket, the value. That's where I got my start. So there's nothing wrong with me finding some extra time, even when it comes to myself. When nobody can show up, I umpire both games. It's not a worry to me, because I know at the end of the day, when I see that young player represent Bermuda in 5 years' time, I know that I was instrumental in some way of helping that person's career. Very little way, very small way, but some way of getting them started into the game.
Doc, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I got a quick question, Stephen. How is it that the Premier Division is finished, and then the First Division still got 2 or 3 more games, or 2 games left? How that worked out? Like, do you think the First Division should be finished too? Then you will have this problem.
Well, we don't have an equal number of teams in both divisions.
That's it.
So it's as simple as that. We have 13 teams on the roster. 6 play Premier, so they play 10 games, and 7 play the First Division. So when you got all that week, you got a bye here and a bye there.
Yeah,
so that's an extra 4 lots of games because of the buys. That's the difference. So it's it's something that we learned. We may have to play their cricket a lot sooner, so that they both end the same time. And it doesn't matter putting in the schedule, letting the clubs know that, hey, when the season starts next time for you, you got to start like 2 weeks ahead of time, or you got to play. These days you got to play 2020 on a Saturday and a Sunday those weekends. So there's just a little things there that it's not that challenging, but you learn as you go along. Because what you must understand is that up until now, we were playing 2020 in clusters of four here, and three or three, right? Now we have leagues, which is allowing guys to play more than just 2 games of 2020 now. They're playing like a whole league of 2020, which in a lot of ways, I don't know whether you are aware that 2020 is probably the only competition where we really can qualify at the senior level for the men's competition. Even though the 50 of it is our bread and butter, the 2020 is where we can qualify. So when you're asking guys to go on a tour and play a 6 or 8 game tournament in 12 days, and they're only playing 2 games domestically, serious games, you're not properly preparing your players. So this league helps us to properly prepare our players in the first division and in the Premier Division. So it's about giving guys some opportunity. And also this year, I don't know if you're aware that when we're looking to play the competition in Jersey this month, we decided, and we found out that they're using the SG Bowl. We decided to use the SG Bowl in the domestic cricket this year. So people were very familiar with the ball, how it swings in the air, how it cuts off the pitch, and how the keeper gloves it and everything, whether it's a harder ball, it's a softer ball, all these little things there that they can say now that they are familiar with.
We're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with the president and Mr. Douglas from the Bermuda Cricket Board. We'll be right back.
With perfect timing for the height of the summer, Greenhouse Bermuda brings us the island's newest iced tea, Newman's Own Organic Iced Tea in a kaleidoscope of delicious flavors. Most shoppers have seen Newman's Own in the condiment section, recognizable due to the founder's caricature prominently featured on the label, and many pick it up in the knowledge that 100% of the profit goes to registered charities. Newman's Own offers us a new refreshing thirst quencher, dry raspberry, lemon, peach, and passion fruit organic Newman's Own iced teas. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
The rapid test, just to give you guys some information. Rapid test you can get the results back in 15 to 20 minutes. But the fact that you'll have so many guys that you're doing, it may just take a little longer, each one. But Dean asked about what went well. Will you guys be having a postmortem with the clubs at the end of the season to talk about one of the major things that we've often talked about, and basically, Mr. President, after we had our conversation, seeing people in the street, they were talking about the deportment, and I know Dean was talking about deportment. And will you guys be addressing that with the clubs prior to next season to go over this? Because we some of the stuff I've seen has been I can't even express it right now, but. Will this be because we have to get on top of it, and the only people that can really get on top of it are the clubs because the players represent them.
Okay, and remember in my conversation last week, I did say that the chairman, Mr. Douglas, that we had with the executive, we had a meeting with the clubs and explained about the deportment. We even had the umpires when the umpires come in to go over the rules and regulations about level 1, level 2, everything with the executive member and the captains, and stress about the deportment and behavior of our players. So now I'm going to leave that to Mr. Douglas.
Well, to answer your question, first of all, we did have a beginner's match referee course this year. Mm-hmm. And a few of the umpires, we got into it and we touched on the course. What, as a chairperson, and I've spoken to my committee in our meeting this morning, we touched on the importance of it, of deportment. And so what we're looking at this year is, outside of postmortem with the clubs, we're looking to meet with, we have Mr. Donovan Hales. And if you're following the CPL, you see Donovan Hales is a name as the match referee for the CPL. I met him in Jamaica, and I did the women's tournament there, I think 2-3 years ago, and we've been in close contact ever since. So from the cricket committee's point of view, what we want to do is to clean up the whole process. Want him to come in and go through these steps. What is the role of the disciplinary committee? How they handle their case? How the appeals committee handles a case? How the umpires write it up? Just give us all the latest data on how it's applied. That's one of the things that I spoke to the executive director about arranging a Zoom, and how many Zooms it takes. I don't care, but we're going to get it right. And then once that's all completed from the people that apply it and administrate it, we then invite the clubs in and their administrators of this is how we're going to do it going forward. People will say, well, this should have been done years ago, that way, that way, the other. We don't have one of the things that you got to understand is that what we see on television is you have the 2 on-field umpires, you have the 3rd umpire, the 4th umpire, and the match referee. Referee just adjudicates what happens. He has no say in writing charges or anything.
Right.
He just adjudicates it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, from my experience as a 3rd umpire, the 3rd umpire writes a charge up, or they say, listen, Stephen, Earl Basin just got out. Just follow him into the changing room. We know he's going to destroy the changing room. Mm-hmm. So I go in the changing room, Earl takes his bat, and he messes up the changing room. That's a charge for equipment. So I write it up. They take my word for it. Everybody signs it. And when they go, they plead guilty or not guilty. Well, it's a level 1, level 2, etc. So that's what we're going to look at. We don't have all the staff to do it all. And one of the things we did do this year, we did have a budget put aside for Ashman match referees. So we're going to put out there, once we get everything in place, once we're ready to put the curriculum up, we're going to put up a match referee. Mainly for the sake of, even if the board says, okay, the referee can adjudicate the level 1s, but the disciplinary committee will adjudicate level 2, level 3, level 4. So it's just a matter of fine tuning it. I can tell you, I've been pushing when I was the president of the umpires for a match referee. And that's why I started this year. If you may not notice, if you did notice, Ms. Linnell Williams was match referee for the Eastern County games. Mm-hmm. We looked at her as she's from her background as a police officer now. You don't call her police woman no more, police officer. Right, that she can apply the match referee protocols. I can tell you she was night and day from the first game to the second game. So she may be the person that we will use in that capacity. And then we get the umpires and everybody to fine tune their role and move on from there. And most importantly, I think I heard the president say last week, it's the players and the clubs also got to play their role. A lot of times we tend to point the finger at the BCB, but people are wearing the red and green of Western Stars, the light blue and dark blue of St. George's, and that's what they represent for us. I know most of us, I can tell you from my time at Cleveland County, blue and white, if I acted up on a game, they just whispered in my ear, don't bother come next week.
So you was missing every other week then?
So, yes, I was. So they, a lot of it stands at home, and again, as an umpire, I can say to people that, oh, that's good, man. If you build a wide, this is a fine for this. You drop a catch, it's a fine for that. I never heard him say anything on the field. If you curse, you can get fined for this. So it falls back into the club also. You know what I mean? And I also say to everybody, if you look at the ICC rules for code of conduct, everything we complain about in Bermuda is there because it happens around the rest of the world also, not just Bermuda. And I say to people quite often, the animation that Virat Kohli puts out on the field, I don't think he would have survived in Bermuda, mate. His career would have been over. But they know the role he plays for England, and they are, I'm not saying they tolerate it, but they manage it a lot better. And we just have to find ways to, those gentlemen that are that animated, we've got to learn to manage them and show them that they can do things a little differently. But per your case, we all got measures in place. We're going to put it in place, and I can pretty well assure you that next year you will see some differences. And it's more, at the end of the day, for me, it's more about education than it is about being punitive. Because a lot of people just don't understand it. Even though a lot of our players are fortunate enough to travel overseas on tournaments, but they don't get it. They don't get it all.
Ian?
No, I totally agree with what you were just saying. That I remember back in the day, you took me back, that a lot of clubs would discipline their players before the board actually gets a chance to discipline them. And you are right, because that has gone out the window. Because I remember a number of cases whereas the clubs would discipline the player, the board would look at how the club is going ahead and discipline the player and say, well, they've already done due diligence.
Like,
But I think, I guess the challenge would be, and what you're saying, the challenge would be is how do we get the clubs to work together to help to stamp out this type of behavior, and they're all working together. So as Earl stated early on, so one player doesn't get a chance to go from one club to another club where he's not going to be, he could find a loophole at another club to keep his behavior, keep a bad behavior. He knows that all clubs are joined together to say we're stamping it out.
Well, and that's the end goal. The end goal is to embrace everybody around the table. I can't speak out of turn. There's another bit of changes I'd like to see happen. And in that changes, I know it will bring some of that success that you're talking about. Because I think if you look back yesteryear, we were great because the people who sat around that boardroom table, the people who sat around the Summerside Cricket League table, were everybody. And everybody, sometimes by having in the board the Eastern County, Western County, and Central County, they were able to share the leaders. They were able to share the information double back in their Eastern County, Western County, Central County meetings. So there was reinforcement all the way around of what you're trying to achieve. So that was the greatness of it. You know what I mean? So some of the separation could have been our demise, but we got to find ways of resolving it and bringing it together, to make it work for everybody.
I had made a statement to someone. I said, if you look at our cricket and you look at our skill level and you look at our talent, I said, if you took out the bad behavior and sportsmanlike conduct, if you eradicated that out of our game, I honestly believe that Bermuda cricket will start to rise as quickly as anything. And I think that's one of the things that is actually holding us back a little bit. So, like you said, I guess it's all hands on deck to try to go ahead and eradicate this.
Yeah, I mean it's and you're right about that. We just need to make people a little more aware of how there's ways of getting around it, right? It's like anything you do, the more you know how to make it work, it's the best way for it to get resolved. You can work around it. You will find that among the people who know the law the best or the rules of the game the best, they're the ones who know how to get around it and make it work. So it's about education. You got to go somewhere else if you want to do something crazy, but we got to educate them and show them, and also they have to learn also themselves, how to conduct themselves.
Yeah, Doc.
Yeah, because you know what I find, but a lot of players have this problem when playing cricket in Bermuda, and then when they go overseas, right, and when they act up, the board in front of the committee is like level 1, level 2, and they're wondering why, they're getting penalized because it's not happening in Bermuda, but they don't know. Once you go overseas, like you said, Stephen, you have the third umpire, you have officials around, and the minute you swear, throw your bat down or show any set on the field, it's a level 1. And then what happens is that player is missing the next game. Because simply because in Bermuda, we don't do the same thing. So I think we really need to start doing that in Bermuda, so we could so these players would get used to it, because like I said, we've been overseas coaching in a few trips, and some of our best players always get level 1, level 2. I don't think we got level 2 yet, but we got a lot of the players that got level 1,
Mhm.
and then it looks bad on our side, but it definitely needs to be done.
I would say
They
from
are a
Bermuda's
lot
side
stricter.
that
I think they were a lot stricter. I remember an incident with somebody's brother, and I bowled a ball, and the guy ran down the wicket, and he missed it, and the wicketkeeper missed it as well. And he was so disappointed, he let out a little word, and guess what? He ended up missing 2 games in the ICC tournament
That's what I'm
from
saying.
that one little word.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think what we don't follow in Bermuda is that we only share what happens with Bermudians. And I'm not saying that these guys here, what they're doing is okay. I'm not saying that. I'm just letting people know that, as I said to you earlier, when you look at the levels and look at the charges, even like if you're internationally, you got to speak English. You can't speak English as your language for cricket. But telling you, because you can't talk about someone else's religion, someone else's language, and all that there. These things you got to be very mindful of. So there's a lot of little things to it. And like I said, Mr. Hales and I have been communicating, and I'm wishing more the best while it's in the CPL. And once it's finished, we will arrange some time to meet with everybody to put something in place to make cricket, what people would like it to look like. But we're doing the best we can with it, but again, we got to put something else onto the clubs, because they have to take some responsibility also. Yeah, Dan.
Mr. Douglas, I totally agree, because I got a chance to look at the list of, it's a very long list of infractions that players have gone ahead. And I totally agree with what you were saying. The only concern that I have in Bermuda's cricket is how player deportment and that sort of behavior is closely linked with funding. And because we're just such a small island, it's one of those things that, how do we now eradicate this out of our sport to get funding? Because, funding is one of the biggest challenges, of course, with our sport. So that's why I said I think there's a close connect with, with football and cricket. And I hope I'm not speaking out of line with football and cricket, with, of course, with the deportment and those sort of things. But it's always attached. Oh, well, we're not going to support that because of, So I think in Bermuda we have a very unique situation, whereas it's almost like we have to be on our best behavior, or limit the amount of infractions, so the sport gets promoted, marketing, and we get funding. So I think, am I right in saying this?
Well, yeah, okay. I don't deal with that part of it. I'm not into the getting the fun side. But again, like I said to you in our meeting this morning with the cricket committee, we did touch on that. We did touch on the pros and cons of it and everything. There's part of it, and that happens with everything in Bermuda. If a young man is up for speeding 3 times, when you go to a job interview and they Google you, they say, "Can you make time?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If a young man went out one day and something happened to him, he got drunk or something, or is in court for some slight infringement, it impacts their livelihood for the rest of their life in this country. Primarily because of our smallness, it impacts this country really badly in a lot of ways for a lot of people and what they do in life, right? I go places thinking no one knows me. Yes, Stephen Douglas from the Eastern County Cricket Board, right? So everywhere I go, I have to walk like I'm a soldier. You know what I mean? So because of our smallness, so yes, you're right, but we got to learn to manage all of that. That's our challenge right now.
We're going to take a final commercial break. When we come back, we have a question that someone has proposed to Mr. Douglas and Mr. Manders. We'll be right back.
With perfect timing for the height of the summer, Greenhouse Bermuda brings us the island's newest iced tea, Newman's Own Organic Iced Tea in a kaleidoscope of delicious flavors. Most shoppers have seen Newman's Own in the condiment section, recognizable due to the founder's caricature prominently featured on the label, and many pick it up in the knowledge that 100% of the profit goes to registered charities. Newman's Own offers us a new refreshing thirst quencher, dry raspberry, lemon, peach, and passion fruit organic Newman's Own iced teas. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. I know part of this question can be addressed by the cricket board. It's educate every player to account through personal conduct contracts and standardize the penalties and handling of misconduct consistently across all clubs and matches, including cup match. I know you guys don't govern cup match, so we'll leave that part out. But interesting comment that if the players sign the personal conduct contracts with their clubs and then accordingly with the board, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, we have something like that in place already. I think what we did last year was this year, first time in a long time, we got players to register, register players. We haven't had a registration of players for a while. So we're looking at it from that side. And in that registration of players, we're governing the code of conduct and the rules and regulations of the game. So again, this is the beginning of something that we're looking at doing. And we will spend more time, in the next year doing it. Just a simple example is that we didn't have a cutoff period for registration of clubs to play cricket. We just thought people would come out and show up every year. The cutoff period is the end of February now. So you didn't register by February, that means you're not interested in playing cricket no more. Right? There's gonna be a cutoff period for transfers.
Yeah.
And then that transfer, then that gives the board time to do its office work as far as having a meeting. These are the guidelines that we're expecting, right? So we have to cut off a lot earlier than we're cutting off in the past, and that gives us time to do our office work. If we left it like in the past, we just assumed that St. George's and Western Stars and Cleveland County are going to play, and raise your hand field, Cleveland, raise your hand field. You tell us now in February your hand field, because you got to then negotiate if whichever club you can negotiate with a lot earlier. They got to start now negotiating for next year. So to that person's comment, we haven't got it done perfect yet, but it's something that we're working on, and that there's already a work in progress.
I think the other part of it is that the only time they come under contract like that is when they're representing the country. Every player has to sign that document, which really goes about your conduct and what's expected of you. I don't know what the law is logistically, if we can require that from our club players. That maybe that's something we can look at. But like I said to Earl last week, it takes a village to raise a child. That means there's all of us, from the clubs, everyone, the board, the player themselves. And the other thing I said was that I can lead my horse to the water, but if he don't want to drink it, I can't make him drink it. So I'm going to leave it like
Not only
that.
to make your horse drink that.
If it's not going to drink it, it's not going to drink it. Trust me.
But just to add to that, we are going to try to put it in there for domestic cricket also, because it does impact, as Mr. Mana says, the opportunity for us getting funding.
Yes.
Everybody's happy to give funding to juniors. We want people to be happy to give us funding, and also you get funding when you become successful also. So we got to get successful also to get some funding. So we're putting all that in place. Yeah, it's Manas.
Doug, how much impact? Well, how much weight do you have when it comes to our most biggest game by the umpires, our most biggest game of the year, right? Of our calendar year, which is cup match. All right. So we saw, let's hypothetically, we saw the incident cup match. How much weight? And I know that the clubs and the board are a little bit. The clubs and the board are separate when it comes to cup match, because cup match is just with Somerset and St. George's. Because this is worldwide now, how do we now make both clubs, St. George's and Somerset, understand that this is so important? So we don't, because, someone told me within the last 5 years, every cup match we've seen an incident. How do we now let them know that you guys, you're representing, not only you're representing Bermuda cricket, but you're representing cricket as well, because you're streamlined all over the world. How do we now address that?
That's a good question, Mr. Manas, and I think you have a solution to it. Ain't you the leader of this former cup match players association?
President, yeah, president.
Okay, so if you join forces with all of us, and
Right.
you guys lead the way and explain them what you're trying to achieve, everything is possible. Everything is possible, and we need support, because it then lands that you, the ex-players, you, the senior players, are sharing your knowledge. You get back involved with your club in some capacity. You had this pre-cup match meeting with everybody, and also you share with the various leaders of those clubs what this cup match means and what everybody is trying to achieve. You, who wear two hats, I think you're the president of it, and also you commentate. You can learn a lot. You know what I mean? And then you can reinforce what the match referee is trying to enforce, the two on-field umpires, the third umpire, and the fourth umpire. A simple thing that we can do if you guys lead it. I think this year was the first year in a long time that both clubs stayed in the same hotel. Any tournament you go to, how can I put it? You guys now are what? What's it? Every tournament that is played, before every part of that tournament, if it's test match, if it's 50 over, if it's 2020, there is a meeting with the referee, with the captains, coaches, and managers to go over the rules, and again they refresh the code of conduct, right? So it's basically, there's a need for people of your stature to come out and assist us, and then our job becomes real easy in getting it done. Because when I travel as an umpire, I knew that I was getting support from David Jukes, who was match referee, Graham LeBroy, match referee, or Marvin Jones, whoever it was. I knew I was getting full support from them. So whatever we put down, we knew we were getting support for it, because the whole ICC was supporting it. Once the whole cup match group supports it, and if your committee can get behind and give your club some support, because I know the clubs are struggling also for manpower. So everybody needs help to make this work. I think it can work. I think we got to do it together as one. Remember, we're very small. We're a very small country, and we are very limited with resources. So the resources are not just on show at cup match, but you can do a lot leading into cup match to help make it a lot easier for everybody. And any other competition. And that then will trickle down to the contest, and from the contest to domestic cricket.
And Stephen, just to echo what Dean said, we have talked about it though. The ex players, like Dean said, the president, all the ex cup match players, we have talked about the behavior on the field, not only like I said, not only cup match, Eastern Conference, or even the league. So the players, the ex players are talking about it, and hopefully we can, have some meetings with the cup to see if we can resolve it. Because, like you said, a cup match is shown worldwide. If we can get it right in cup match, and there's no TV, how are we gonna get sponsors? How are we gonna get? It's not right, man. So we definitely need to do something about it, like Dean said.
I know we're referring to cup match, but it's the behavior that leads into cup match. So we have to address everything on the domestic side. Cup match is the biggest one, but if a guy's used to doing something, as Mr. Douglas has already stated, the guy's used to doing something in week 3, and he does it in week 4. What makes you think he's going to change it in cup match? So I think collectively we need to address it. And remember, former cup match players are also former club players. They all came from a club. So if we're trying to address cup match, we should also try to address the former club players should go back to their clubs as well and sit down, especially with you could identify, every club could identify 1 or 2 guys in the club that is kind of hot-headed of sorts, or will go off the rails at the drop of a dime. And it's the former players that can actually help resolve some of that problem by talking to them, finding out what is the issue, what hits that switch, because just like a batsman, sometimes you could go in and everything's working. The next week you go in and you play the same shot and you're out. So, you've got to be able to balance that out. And as former players, I think that's where it comes down to, not just cup match, but county, all 3 counties, and the league.
No, and Mr. Douglas, I totally agree. And that's one of the objectives of the association, is to, now that we're a charitable organization, we just got our charity last year. So we're a charitable organization, and that's some of the things that we're looking to do, is to find out not only the committee, but former players that you actually see on the screen. You got Arnold, you got Doc, and basically being a part of the committee and what can we do. And just by you saying what you're saying, I think it put a huge smile on my face, because it's almost that we can now come into this arena with full support. Because sometimes it could be, okay, what do these guys want, or what are they trying to, but I'm definitely, after this, we're going to be talking.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a huge avenue that we can go ahead and support and do, even with the match referees. We can do up a schedule, if for former players, and could be 1 or 2, it could be 10 former players that want to go ahead and be match referees. So I think we have to utilize our resources, and that's one of the things. That's why I got on board, but to utilize our resources and what we have, because we can get this team, moving forward.
I agree with what you're saying, Dean, because like people say, well, how come football could do this and football could do that? Well, football is played for an hour and a half, 2 hours max if they're playing in cup finals and extra time. But when you look at cricket, you're playing 50 overs, you're giving up 8 hours of your time. So a lot of people, and it's hot, a lot of people don't want to volunteer. So it's kind of difficult to get people involved, because that's a lot of time when you're thinking about it. Now, if you're looking at T20, you're looking at 3 hours. That's still longer than a football match. So, I mean, that's where we're struggling. Like, we need more umpires. We need more, what Steven's trying to do, we need the referees, because those are the people that can put a big hit into that behavior. So for me, the plight would be, for me, those that are out there and listening are avid cricket fans. If you could give us some of your time, but I'm not saying all season, but a little bit of umpiring here and there, or maybe be a match referee. Because that's what it's going to take. Like I said, it takes a village to raise a child. But I understand people have responsibilities. Summer is the hardest time in the year. Yet a lot of people don't want to look at the cricketers. They got to be able to feel all before a game, and for a 50-over game, you're looking at 7-8 hours. So that's the same for an umpire, same for a match referee. But we have to get resourceful and creative in trying to get more people out, which probably would mean in this time and age and in COVID-19 that we may have to look at raising sponsorship for our umpires and officials, because I can't see how they do it. Like, the umpire stands on the field, and I think they make $150 for the whole day. That's 7-8 hours of sun. So I think we have to make it look halfway decent for anybody that wants to do it. But that means raising those funds so that we can have more people looking to be an umpire or looking to be a match referee or assist in any way that they can.
What is the likelihood? I know we talked about lights way back early on. Mr. Boyles was on the show. What is the likelihood of, even because it is getting hotter, looking at utilizing the National Stadium and their lights, or utilizing Somerset and the lights, and looking at, potentially evening games, like a 2020 evening games? So we're not in, like you said, we're not in the hot sun. But is there any thought in thinking like having alternative plans and saying, well, we could go up to, the stadium on a Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening, Thursday?
You got to remember the stadium's lights were destroyed in one of the last hurricanes, and they haven't replaced them. So I don't know how adequate that lighting would be. Like, you can play at Somerset, but I know the lighting up Somerset's not actually that good as well. So those are things that we have to look at. Like, we're trying to, because of COVID-19, our teams can't train through the winter now because it gets dark after 5. Used to be used Barclay, but all the gyms and stuff you can't use. So we have the Barclay facility. We're looking at putting lights up. But you got to be resourceful. But Somerset, you can play there, I guess. But I don't know about the National Stadium. I haven't seen those lights on because I think they lost 4 of the posts.
Yeah.
And they haven't replaced it, and they don't have any funding or have any idea of when they're going to replace it. Because
what I can say to you is the ICC itself is looking at playing games at night because of the global warming and the climate change. So they're looking at it very seriously.
Yeah.
So they know the same thing you're saying, Dean, is happening worldwide. So it's something they're looking at. Again, it comes down to funding. So, but once they get a blueprint, they will be able to share some of that blueprint with us little associates, and maybe give us some guidance on how, what would be the minimum month of light you would need, etc., and all that there to do different things. But as they're looking at these things also, because it gets, if you're seeing all the fires down in Australia, where they've been burning up, for forever and ever, these last 2 years or so. So they have challenges with smoke coming over. I think it was in India, or was it in Sri Lanka? I think a year or 2 years ago, there was all this smoke and different fog coming across the field and all that there. So everybody's looking at things, and we don't have the resources to do initial background, but the parent body is doing it. And once the parent body has their findings, they share with us little people, and then we see how we can best suit us. But that's something that they're looking at right now, the parent body.
Stephen, you may have mentioned earlier about a budget. What would the annual or average cost to have match officials? What would that be on a yearly basis? Because you said you had put aside some funding, but how much would it average total would be?
What we were doing, we were paying the match referee the similar funds we was paying the umpire. So for 2020 game, we pay an umpire $9. Referee gets the same funding. If it's a 50-over game, and we got 145, we're giving them 145. If there's 10 games in the Premier, so it's 145 times that per team, and per that there. So, and the similar thing would be for the first division. So, the office has got those numbers. I don't have the numbers right on top of my head.
Okay.
But that's what we were looking to pay pay the official, the similar money we was paying the actual umpire. And I saw the question come up on the young man there just now.
Yeah.
And of
Doc,
course,
any
they'd
final
have to
question?
train. And of course, they would have to go through a period of training.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not a lot of training, you know. It's just about paperwork, you know what I mean? We can get like I said, Mr. Hales will be prepared to do the training because it's not only as a match referee, but he's a deputy principal in school in Jamaica. So he's very thorough when it comes to training. And, you know, so, you know, we will tell you the importance of having your documentation in order. And, you know, we were hoping to do it this year just to collect data, to be able to show what we can do better, you know, the next year. So everything we do is, and when we do something new, it would allow us to collect some data and to improve on. So I'm happy that you're looking to some of your colleagues to come on and be match referees. I know Mr. Blankendale is listening to this program, and he's got your number and your name, and he'll find somebody to reach you, and we'll be able to, you know, connect. And once the syllabus is ready, we can share it and start putting the courses in place. And then, you know, it becomes a total country involvement.
Yes.
And it will help to make us, you know, even grow. Because the match referee doesn't only do good for the behavior of players, but is there to grade the umpires. And I can say to you, I believe, and I'm pretty sure of it, that from the Americas region, we are the weakest when it comes to umpires going on the various panels, because there's no direct match referee from the ICC Americas that can assist us. So if someone from you that becomes very good at it, then you become the person that can go and become a part of the match referee. So any game that we're having, like the under 19, the women and all that there, right now we take people from the West Indies to come and do our games. It would be a once you're certified and qualified, you can go to an ICC course, you become the person that goes to those games. So there's opportunities for match referees also.
Doc?
Yeah, I think that's good, Stephen, because it will definitely help out. You know, my only thing is, I know your umpires is going to definitely be complaining they're getting the same much money as you guys are getting. You guys take all the pressure from players and everything else. So, but it's good. I think that's a start. We need to go that way with like match officials or somebody to come to help you guys out, and then you guys could probably basically concentrate on, you know, what's happening on the field itself.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like I said, they want to collect the team sheets. They want to do the tours.
Yeah.
You know, they want to give the pep tour. What we just do is go sit off like when I'm traveling, sit off, make sure I got my nice fruit for breakfast and get ready. You know, it takes a lot of pressure off of us. Whether people realize it or not. You know, and then we just got to umpire, and you know, we sit down at the end of the game. We have a debriefing of what went good, what we can improve on. You know, so all that there is things that, you know, make it work a lot smoother. As I said, you know, it's been a long time coming, and when I got in this chair, I said, you know, I have to do something about it. So, you know, like I said, it's a start this year earlier. But now it's phase 2, and the phase 2 is I'm going to ramp it up as much as I can. And now I've got some actual support behind Mr. Miles and his team. You know, we can put some things in place to make it happen. You know, the domestic cricket, as I tell people, the clubs, you know, our budget isn't as great as people think it is from the board side to domestic cricket. So we're going to have to find something to help make domestic cricket run a little better from the board side of it.
Well, gentlemen, I do want to thank you very much for your time this evening. You've enlightened us quite a bit, Mr. Douglas. I think you answered Mr. Manas's questions. I think he's now satisfied with the answers in which he got. Mr. President, thank you very much for your time as well. You know, just allowing the people, and Arno, I said to you last week, you know, informing the public of what's going on is probably the best line of communication of making sure that your message gets out. And I think a platform like this would allow you to get your message out. And again, thank you very much, Mr. Douglas, for enlightening us with so much of the rules, regulations, and what the challenges are for the board and a way moving forward. Because obviously you have your elections in November. We first look forward to whatever information comes out probably on Tuesday or Wednesday with the decision on how the rest of the First Division season will play itself out. All right?
I want to
Yeah,
thank you for
Anytime
having
you got
us.
any questions, feel free, man. You know, it's no challenge to me. Any
Thank you,
question.
Dougie. Thank you, Manda, so much.
All right, guys.
Thank you,
Very much
guys.
appreciate that.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
Not a problem. You guys and folks, enjoy the rest of your night.